Hey everyone, CTNtechnologynews here, and today I want to talk about Apple's upcoming iPod Touch 6th generation. Let me just say first off that it feels like I've been waiting forever for an iPod Touch 6th generation. It's been over 1.5 years since Apple launched the 5G, and there's been scarcely any news about a new edition of the iPod Touch. Whenever sites talk about the iPod Touch, it's just to say that Apple is done making iPods or the iPod Touch is dead. But here's why I disagree. It would make sense that a brand new iPod and not just a minor refresh could be next in Apple's iPod products pipeline. The launch of the 4th gen iPod Touch in 2010 was followed by a minor refresh introducing new capabilities and colors a year later. The same thing happened with the 5th gen iPod Touch introduced in 2012 when Apple introduced the new cheaper 16GB capacity and space gray color last year. If Apple continues on that pattern, a fully redesigned iPod Touch could be in the cards for fall 2014. One thing is without a doubt though, Apple will tie the design and the release date of the iPod Touch 6 to that of the iPhone 6. Expect them to debut at the same time and look similar to each other aside from perhaps the color schemes, just as what happened 2 years ago with the iPhone 5 and the iPod Touch 5th generation. That means that if the new iPhone does indeed come with a larger screen, expect the 6th generation iPod Touch to do the same. If the iPhone is curved sides, the iPod probably will as well. And while the new iPhone is expected to get thinner, I do wonder if the iPod Touch can even get any thinner. But with regards to iPod Touch exclusive features, Apple could basically do any of the following. For one, they could update the processor to say an Apple A7, but I do hope that's pretty much a given. What would be nice if Apple made the new iPod Touch processor 64-bit like they're planning to do with the rest of their products. I would also expect that Apple will add a Touch ID to the iPod Touch 6th generation, since that was the standout feature of the 2013 iPhone 5S and will almost certainly be carried over to the iPhone 6. To improve the camera, the iPod Touch could use, say, a True Tone flash or even just a better FaceTime HD camera to make video calls that much better. Giving the iPod Touch a removable battery would be a nice step for Apple, since it would allow users to take advantage of their media player long after the first battery gives out. More RAM is also always an option for any product update, so Apple could consider adding 2GB of RAM to the new iPod Touch. If Apple were still trying to focus on the iPod Touch as a music player, it would make sense for them to add way better speakers, maybe something like HTC's Boom Sound that gives music and audio a really nice quality. If nothing else, the iPod Touch 6th generation will definitely get iOS 8, which is Apple's brand new mobile operating system that brings a host of minor updates like new keyboards, interactive notifications, iCloud Drive, and of course HealthKit. I mean, none of this stuff that I just said is exactly groundbreaking, but it's what Apple needs to do to keep the iPod Touch relevant to today's world. Now previously, Apple has used the iPod Touch to offer some of the iPhone features in a product with no cell phone radio or monthly cost. But with the iPhone cannibalizing sales of all iPods, iPod Touch included, Apple may have to rethink their whole mindset. I know this idea is a little far-fetched, but I think that Apple should make Wi-Fi calling an official feature of the iPod Touch. All they'd have to do is add a front-facing microphone, like on a smartphone, and basically expand FaceTime to include phone calls made over Wi-Fi. Now obviously, the iPod Touch would still not have a data plan or a contract, but it could serve as a cell phone of sorts when it is connected to the internet. I mean, you can already get Wi-Fi calling on the iPod Touch through other services like Google Hangouts, so why doesn't Apple just go with the idea and make it the killer feature on the iPod Touch 6th generation? I don't know, that's just what I'd like to see in the iPod Touch 6th generation, and I know I have done, a couple of these videos in the past about rumors about Apple's upcoming media player, but, I think there's a lot that Apple could put into it, and, I think that if Apple were to actually, make the iPod Touch a really killer device with Wi-Fi calling and a lot of new upgrades, I think it could really take off yet again. I think, a Wi-Fi calling iPod Touch would make people think twice about buying a smartphone, and, I think it would rocket iPods to the top of the line yet again. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video though, and I will see you next time. Bye!